Hello, this is Faith from Faith and Books. How are you doing? It has been 3 weeks since I have posted anything. My phone died and I couldn't make any videos. That's the only way I know how to make videos. So I just couldn't do it. I had to wait for a new phone, order a new phone, and my husband did all that for me. And then it's just been a really, really busy past 3 weeks. So I just haven't gotten to it. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a chatty update, and then I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I've read. I'm wearing my compression gloves for arthritis. So anyway, let's see when I last left you, I had a kidney stone, and thank you so much for all the well wishes. I really appreciated it. I did start to feel better that day. That was a Sunday, and I had to go pick up my sister who has Down syndrome. And I was really dreading that because I just didn't feel physically up for it. But as the day went on, I felt better. And so I went and got her. It's like 20 minutes to her home. And then she's in a wheelchair. So you have to get the wheelchair. And I had to get food for her because she can't chew food. It has to be ground up. And she has to eat at specific times. And so then I had to drive 40 minutes to my sister, and but it worked out. It worked out, and I was really, really happy that it worked out. But then the next day, Monday, I came down with this horrendous cold. It wasn't COVID. I tested twice, but it was just a horrendous cold. I was, I didn't have a fever, but sore throat, coughing, sneezing, all stuffed up, can't sleep, headaches, just no energy. But I couldn't I had to push through it because it was the first full week of me watching my grandsons for my daughter, who is a school teacher, and it was her first week back at school. So I couldn't not watch the kids. So I was wearing a mask, and I was trying to distance from, how could I distance from them? I have to give them I have to give the baby a bottle and change his diaper. It's really hard to distance. So they did get the cold. They did not get it as badly, though, which is good. I think I've got it the worst, or maybe I just feel more sorry for myself. And then I gave it to my husband. And at first, he seemed to have it pretty much like I did. Maybe not quite as bad, but he doesn't complain. So maybe it was worse than he let on. But then last Sunday, we were driving to church, and he's like, I don't feel well. He got sick to his stomach. He had a fever. We went home. We just turned around. I didn't go to church. We just turned right around, went back, and he had a fever of 101.5. Later, it went up to 102. He had a fever for 3 or 4 days. He was sick to his stomach. I don't know where that came from. I didn't catch it. Nobody else seems to have caught it. Whatever it was. And then while he was trying to recover from that, and it was really nasty, my husband, we've been married in November of 34 years, and I can count on one hand how many times he's gotten sick like that. It was out of the blue. It kind of made me really nervous. Of course, he won't go to the doctors. And then I think because of lying in bed so much, he hurt his neck. So then he couldn't sleep because his neck hurt so much. He was just in agony. So, I tell you, getting old is just, it's not fun. So, it's just been these crazy 3 weeks. In the meantime, all this other stuff is going on. Like the 6-year-old who has started school. So, we have our routine, our school year routine, because his mom has to go to work early. So, I take him to school. I call him the 6-year-old, but pretty soon he's going to be my official grandson, because with all the other stuff going on, we're in the middle of legal proceedings to formally adopt the woman that came to live with us almost 7 years ago. She's a refugee from Cote d'Ivoire, and she's been living with us, and her son is like our grandson. She's become like a daughter. So we're making it legal. So I'm going to have 6 adult children. It's my youngest just turned 21. So that's kind of a momentous thing. And then we're officially adopting him, which I have been calling him my grandson to various people, like the school anyway. And in Virginia, you can't have, it's very hard to get guardianship. Like I have guardianship of my youngest sister who's Down syndrome, but you go through a rigmarole, and that's sort of a different thing than than like just being guardian of somebody you're not related to. So by adopting the 6-year-old, we can actually get legal guardianship, because we were always nervous about that, because his mom is here in this country as a refugee. We have no idea if she's actually going to be able to stay. And she has no one except for us. So, like, what if something happened to her? What would happen to him? We just didn't know what. So now we can share in the guardianship with her, so that if anything does happen, we can just immediately step in and take care of him. So, and I would joke and say he was my proto-grandchild, because he was the first, And so I'm so glad that this is happening. It's so really momentous thing that's kind of feels like emotionally on the back burner because of all this other, like, kind of more immediate daily stuff going on. So that's a big thing that's going on. And then there's just so many other little things, like the beagle that we rescued, the 4,000 beagles that the Department of Justice went in, and this facility had violated all these rules, and so they have these 4,000 puppies, and this is in Southern Virginia, and I'm in Northern Virginia, and they're trying to get people to adopt them, and we adopted this puppy. He's the most adorable puppy. I love beagles. I've decided they're like the best. However, he is a puppy. They want to chew on everything. They're into everything, and he's not housebroken. We're having trouble housebreaking him. So that's a constant thing. I'm constantly trying to get the dog out and make sure he doesn't have any accidents. And he's not chewing on things. And so that's, I know it's only going to last for a while, and eventually he's going to learn all that. But it is something that keeps you very busy. And then I had ordered chicks a while ago, and so the chicks arrived. The chicks are actually, if there's just 4 chicks, to replace my chickens that got killed while we were on vacation by a fox. So and I wanted to get pullets because I was nervous about trying to raise chickens. Chickens are just really highly easy to kill. There's a reason why they're kind of at the bottom of the food chain. And I thought, I don't want to have to raise chicks. That just seems like too much. But that was all I could get at the time. And so we're raising these chicks. It's going to be months before we get eggs from them. But has not been hard at all. You just have to make sure they have food and water. I bought this big tub, and I filled it with bedding, and my son put some hard cloth over it. And so the chicks are doing fine. They're actually really cute and easy. So that's a relief. Anyway, all this stuff is going on. But during all this, I managed to read 3 books. So I think the last time that I was talking, I was not that impressed with Phineas Redux by Anthony Trollope. So I'm reading the Palliser series with Christina of Knitting Books, etc. She's been doing this year-long readathon of the Palliser novels by Anthony Trollope. There's 6 of them. So we're reading one every other month. And Phineas Redux is the 4th in the series. And I was listening to it on audio. Like, sometimes I listen to them and sometimes I read them physically. This time I was listening on audio, which was good because when I was sick, I could just put it on and listen. Now, the problem was that because I was sick, I would just fall asleep. And so then I'd have to figure out what chapter I'd miss, and then I would get the physical book and go back and read so I could know what was happening. So maybe that affected my enjoyment of it. Might have. The first half of the novel, though, was really slow, and it was just a downer. Like, you pick up where things left off in Phineas Finn, which is the 2nd novel in the series, and everybody's in the same place. And Phineas has, at the end of the first book, Phineas Finn, he's married his childhood sweetheart, and he's living in Ireland, and he's given up Parliament and that whole political life in London. But the beginning, Trollope does this. He just kills off people, and you barely hear from him again. So that was kind of weird because I felt like he was way too understated about what Phineas must have gone through with the death of his wife. So that was weird. And then we're just back in the political world of London, where everybody's lives are a mess. And they're dragging Phineas into it because they've invited him back since they found out that his wife had died. And so he's just picking up, but everybody's a mess. And it was just a downer, just really a downer. And then suddenly, in the middle of the book, something happens out of the blue, and the whole second half of the book is about that. So I found, and it really picks up, and it gets good. It was a good plot, it was a good storyline, it was well told, all the good stuff. So I enjoyed the book a lot. But again, Trollope would go on and on about certain things that I wasn't that interested in, but then he just was so understated or just ignored things that I wish he had, elucidated on. So I found it uneven, and I really think it's my least favorite, even though I listened to it under maybe conditions that might have affected my enjoyment. I really think it's my least favorite so far of the 4. So the next one is the Prime Minister, and I'm saving that for Victober, and I'm hoping to read it physically for Victober. So that's Phineas Redux. So I finished that week. I think that, Sunday was the last 3 weeks ago Sunday. This is Sunday. So I finished that, I don't know, maybe Wednesday or something of that week. And then, let's see what else. And then I was really trying to finish book 13 in the City of God. And that takes a lot of concentration. I did not have a lot of focus because of everything. So it took me a gargantuan effort to finish it. But I finished book 13. I wanted to get through with that. Now I have to finish through book 16. This is a huge thing. By the end of this month. So, but I felt good that I got through 13. And the thing is, I'm really enjoying this part of the City of God. A lot of the City of God is polemical in that he's attacking the opinions of the pagans around him and their criticisms of the church. And he's basically dismantling their beliefs and saying why Christianity is better. But now in this part, he's talking about the City of God, and he's doing a lot of exegesis and just teaching the principles of Christianity. So he's talking about, what do Christians think about angels? What do Christians think about sin? What do they think about death? All those things. And he's really going into the scripture, and he's comparing it to what Plato said. So it's really, really good, meaty stuff that makes you go, wow, that's a neat pointer. And I've read this before, and I think in this kind of section that I'm in now, maybe I was sort of glossing over it the first time, because I see my notes that I made. I made a lot of, notes in the margins and stuff. But it's like I'm reading it anew. And I'm enjoying it. I've started book 14, and I continue to really enjoy it, but it's very meaty. So I'm working my way through that, and I'm going to focus on that, reading this. This is going to be number 1 priority for the rest of September. And then I wanted to participate in Shake-Tember, but I decided the only one that I was going to do was Coriolanus. And this was just coincidental, but way back at the beginning in January, which seems so long ago, I was going to focus on ancient. So I read Xenophon's Persian Expedition, and then I can't remember what else I read. I know I read Rosemary Sutcliffe's Eagle of the Ninth when the Romans were in Britain. I love Rosemary Sutcliffe. I must have tried something else. I was really focusing on the ancients because the first 3 months of this year I was studying Latin via Ovid. I was going to read Ovid. I got Metamorphoses, and I was going to try to read that in April, and everything fell apart. I just have had a very bad year. But back then, I went to a secondhand store, and I saw this, and I bought it. Well, it just so happens that Lukash at Cruel Reader's Thesis, who's one of the hosts of Shake-Tember, picked this one for to read. And so I have not seen his video. I don't know if he put it up yet. I'm going to try and see it this afternoon, if it's up, or sometime this week. But anyway, so I read Coriolanus, and I liked it. I really liked it. It has a lot of food for thought in it. I had no idea what the story was at all. No background, or I didn't even know a summary. I hadn't even read a summary or anything. I just read it through, and it's not a No Fear Shakespeare. So I was just reading the actual original text. And this was obviously some student's copy, but I could not read his or her handwriting. So I couldn't get much out of that. But what I did understand, I really enjoyed. Coriolanus suffers from pride, and he's a great soldier, but he really despises the poor. He's a patrician, and he despises the plebeians, and he goes to become consul, and the tribunes that are supposed to be representing the plebeians kind of incite against him, because they know he's not trustworthy. He's not going to, when he's in government, he is not going to defend the plebeians, since he hates them so. So he's his own worst enemy, and he just creates all this stuff. He gets banished, and then he becomes a traitor, and then there's so much, there's a lot to it, and I'm sure I missed most of it. I'm looking forward to seeing Lukash's what he thought of it. I thought it was very good, and I recommend it as a play to read. And I had barely even heard of it before I saw it, but I knew it was set in ancient Rome, so that's why I picked it up months ago. So it just worked out for me. And then the other book that I finished reading, oh yeah, I brought this along, I don't know why. But yeah, so Coriolanus is one of the lives in Plutarch's Lives. So I actually got this out, and I was trying to read it, but I just don't have the time. But I would love to at some point when I do have the time. I would love to read what Plutarch said about Coriolanus, because that's where Shakespeare got the story. So, and then the last book that I read, that I just finished yesterday, is Pigeon, which is the 6th book in the Swallows and Amazon series that I am trying to work through. It's by Arthur Ransom. This one was written, I think, in 1937. And they're about this group of kids who are friends who go on holiday together, and they go camping and stuff. So there's the Walker children. There's 4 of them. Let me see if I can name them. John, Susan. Susan's like the mother hen. John was kind of the star of the first 2, or at least the first one, but he's kind of in the background. He's there. He's definitely there, but he's kind of in the background. And then Titty and Roger. And Roger's really funny. He's kind of coming into his own. And Titty also, she has so much goes on. This was a good one. I thought this was a really good story. And then there's the Amazons, and they are Nancy and Peggy, these sisters that are just full of life and adventure and really good characters. And then there's these 2 other kids that join them. They join them in like the 4th book, The Winter Holiday, and that is Dick and Dorothea Column. And Dick is they nickname him the professor. So he's really, and the first time we meet him, he's really into astronomy, and then the second time, Coot Club, he's really into birds, watching birds, and then this time he's into geology and mineralogy, which is an important aspect of this story. This has a lot of really interesting elements going on. They do this water divining. There's a drought going on, and there's this fear of fire, and the kids build a well. The kids just do so much on their own. They've decided to be gold miners because they have these old abandoned mines in this lake district, and they're trying to do this. It has to do with their uncle, who they call Captain Flint, and it's just crazy what these kids do. They're like literally mining, and then they're crushing and panning what they think is gold, and then they're building a blast furnace to try to melt the gold into an ingot. And they're competing with this other guy who they call Squashy Hat, who they think is also wanting to mine for gold. These mines have been abandoned for like 30 years or something. But the things that they do, and the danger and they're so capable. I learned a lot. I learned about geology, and I never knew what a fire broom was. Did you know there's such a thing as a fire broom for putting out fires, grass fires? So I thought this was a very nicely plotted story, and the detail he gives of how the kids work together. It's just so different from childhood today, because kids would never, I mean, I don't even know if this was realistic of his own childhood, though he based it on his own childhood, when apparently he and his siblings were allowed to just roam the Lake District and camp and hike and fish and stuff. And so, yeah, it was a really good installment. So this is number 6, and the next one is We Didn't Mean to Go to Sea. I have that book, but then I have to buy the remaining books. So for some reason, I only have the first 7, and I need to buy the remaining, how many are left? 5. So, yeah, so anyway, it's a good series. There's a whole Arthur Ransom Society. This has been made into several BBC things, which I've never seen. But I love it. If you want to read something really charming, well-written, intelligent, funny, innocent, about kids doing amazing things, kids with real personality, and it's great. It's a good series. I really like this one. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to say, because it's 21 minutes now, is I have been reading to my soon-to-be legal grandson this book, Along Came a Dog, by Minder DeJong. I wanted to read The Wheel on the School, which is a book I remember really, really loving reading to my own kids. I couldn't find it. I don't know where our copy went, and I couldn't find it at the library. But we did have this one. And this is perfect because it's about a dog and chickens. And right now we have a new puppy and we have chicks. And so the 6-year-old is just sold on it. And it's a really nice story. I'm enjoying it, reading it out loud to him. So anyway, so that's what I'm reading. And oh, I forgot the. So once I finished Pigeon Post, which is part of a series, there's a series thing in September, which I did not know about. It's a challenge. I started reading the first book in the Corfu trilogy by Gerald Durrell. All 3 books are in one volume. I also bought that at a used bookstore. And yeah, I started reading that, and that's hysterical. So that's good. And the other thing I'm still reading is A Path Through the Seas, about the building of the Panama Canal. My husband has finished. I'm probably going to finish that this week. All right, 22 minutes. Oh my gosh, almost 23 minutes. So I'm sorry, but I haven't talked to you in a long time. And hopefully this will upload and everything will work out. And this new phone is great. Did I say that I had to get a new phone? I don't know what I've said. But it has lots of memories. So I'm not going to have trouble. So now I need to go into the grocery store and do my weekly shopping. And then I'm going to go home, make breakfast. And then hopefully we will get to church today. All right. Talk to you later. I hope you are doing well, and happy reading. Bye-bye.